Hello, and let us begin today's class. We will studying about asexual reproduction and its types. There are 5 types of asexual reproduction: fission, budding, spore formation, fragmentation, and vegetative propagation. We already studied about the 4 methods of asexual reproduction. Today we'll study about the 5th method of asexual reproduction, that is vegetative propagation. These vegetative propagation is asexual reproduction that occurs in plants. So let us define vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation is the process of asexual reproduction. The process of asexual reproduction in plants. In which parts of a plant such as roots, stem, leaf, etc. detach from the parent body. Detach means to separate. Okay, detach from the parent body and grow into self-supporting new plants. Okay, so here some parts of the parent plant such as the roots, stem, leaves, etc. they get detached from the parent body, and after they get detached they will form completely new plants which are self-supporting, means they grow by itself because they have all the parts of a plant. So this method is known as vegetative propagation, and it is the simplest method of reproduction in plants. Simplest method of reproduction that occurs in plants. Okay, so many ornamental plants like cactus, orchids, grasses, etc. are grown through vegetative propagation. So many ornamental plants like orchids, okay, cactus, grasses, etc. are grown by this method. Okay, by this method. Okay, again there are 2 types of vegetative propagation, that is natural vegetative propagation and artificial vegetative propagation. Natural means it occurs by itself, okay, naturally. So first we'll study about natural vegetative propagation. Okay, so natural vegetative propagation either occurs by roots. So the first type of natural vegetative propagation is by roots. Now in plants, okay, like sweet potato. In plants like sweet potato, dahlia, etc. What happens is the adventitious roots of these plants, they grow, okay, and they become thick and tuberous, okay. So the adventitious roots is actually fibrous roots. I think you must be knowing that there are two kinds of roots. First is taproot and the second is fibrous root. So fibrous root is also known as adventitious roots. Taproot is a root in which there is a primary root, okay. From the primary root branches grow. So this type of root is known as taproot. But in case of adventitious root, there is no primary root, okay. There are many roots. So from these many roots, branches appear. So this type of root is known as fibrous or adventitious roots. So in case of certain plants like sweet potato, dahlia, etc., these adventitious roots, now they become thick and tuberous, okay. So become thick and tuberous. Tuberous means they become enlarged and fleshy, okay. Why they become thick and tuberous? Due to the accumulation of food in them, okay. Due to the accumulation of food in them. So when food starts to collect in such roots, they become thick and tuberous. So when they accumulate food and they become thick and tuberous, then bud starts to develop in such roots. So buds develop in such roots. So when such bud bearing roots are planted in the soil, new plants are obtained, okay. So when such bud bearing roots are planted in soil, new plants develop from them. So new plants. So from the roots you can see the plants are developing. So such type of reproduction is vegetative propagation. When the reproduction takes place from parts of a plant like the roots, stem and the leaves, that is vegetative propagation. So here from the roots new plants are developing. So reproduction has taken place. The roots of guava plant, they also bear buds, and from those buds new guava plants are also obtained. So the roots of guava plant bear buds. So from that buds from such roots or buds, guava plant can be obtained. Okay. Now the next method of vegetative propagation is by stem. Okay. Now in stems, in stem, in vegetative propagation from stem, what happens is new plants, they grow from subaerial stems. Okay, new plants grow from subaerial stems, such like in grasses. Okay, subaerial stems. Subaerial stems are the stems that do not grow high up in the air. But they grow just above the ground. Okay, just above the ground. Okay, so from the subaerial stems, when new plants grow, those type of vegetative those type of reproduction is known as vegetative propagation. So subaerial stem means usually this is the root, okay, and this is the stem. So stem usually grow high up in the air, but in case of subaerial stems, rather than growing high up in the air, they grow, suppose this is the soil, this is your ground, so this is your ground, so this stem grows just above the ground like this. Okay, so such stems are called subaerial stems. So from these stems, vegetative propagation occurs. Now how? There are different kinds of subaerial stems like runners, stolon. Okay, there are also subaerial stems like suckers. Okay, so through this offsets, through these subaerial stems, now how do the plants grow? Let us discuss them one by one. Okay, so let us discuss about grasses. Okay, in grasses, what happens is, suppose this is a grass plant. This is the root of the grass plant. So, as I told you earlier, in grasses there is a subaerial stem. So the subaerial stem, they grow just above the ground like this. Okay. Now, as you know, the stems have nodes in them. Nodes are the, at certain intervals they have nodes. Nodes usually stems, branches, okay, they develop. So leaves develop nodes. So since this is the stem that is lying horizontally on the ground, so this stem has nodes. So from the nodes, what happens is, since this is touching the ground, from the nodes, rather than developing branches or leaves, in certain plants, from the nodes, roots develop. Okay, roots janminja to node bada. So roots develop, and when this dry grasses, they get rainfall, or when there is rainfall, then from the roots here new plants will arise. Okay, naya plants janminja. So this type of reproduction is known as vegetative propagation by stem, and it occurs in grasses. And such stem, this stem is known as a runner. Runners are the stem that run horizontally just above the surface of the ground. Ground line horizontally stems grow garcha, those are runners. So this is first type of vegetative propagation by stem bada only. So it occurs in grasses. Now there is another type of stems. This next type of stem is again subaerial stem. So that is known as stolon. Okay, it is found in strawberries. Strawberries matter. What happens? It happens same as in case of grasses. The stems, they grow like this, just above the ground, and then again at different places in the stem, roots begin to develop. The only difference between runner and stolon is that stolon is shorter and thicker. shorter and thicker, whereas runners are long. Okay, shorter and thicker. So from here again, from wherever the roots have developed, new plants will arise. So this is known as, if these plants are detached, okay, they get detached and then they grow as individual plants. So this is known as this type of vegetative propagation that occurs. This is the stolon. So when vegetative propagation occurs from subaerial stems like stolon, that is also a type of vegetative propagation. So this occurs in plants like strawberry. Okay. Now there is another type of subaerial stem that is known as offset. Okay. Now what are offsets? Offsets. Offset. Okay. So again, same thing happens. There is a plant, roots, having roots. Now again the stem, since it is subaerial, it will grow just above the ground, and then again from certain nodes, roots develop. The only difference between runner, stolon and offset is that offset remains attached to the parent body for a long period of time. Attached to the mother plant. So this is offset. केही डिफरेन्स छैन, तीनटा एउटै हो, सब एरियल हो, हराइजन्टली ग्रो गर्छ, ठाउँ ठाउँमा रुट्स पनि हुन्छ, तर ओन्ली डिफरेन्स इज रनर चाहिँ लामो हुन्छ, स्टोलन छोटो र मोटो हुन्छ। अफसेट चाहिँ जब यो प्लान्ट नयाँ प्लान्ट ग्रो गर्छ नि, इभन देन दिस न्यू प्लान्ट्स रिमेन अट्याच्ड टु द पेरेन्ट अर द मदर प्लान्ट। सो यस्तोलाई चाहिँ वी कल इट द अफसेट। एन्ड द लास्ट इज द sucker. Sucker is slightly different from this tree. Sucker, what happens is there is a stem, there is a root. Okay, I forgot to tell you, offset occurs in water hyacinth. It is an aquatic plant that grows above water, and this is known as, it floats on the surface of water, so that is water hyacinth. So offset type, through offset, water hyacinth reproduces. Okay, now let us move on to sucker. Sucker, it takes place in pudina or the mint plant. Okay, pudina plant ma sucker huncha. Okay, now here what happens is that the stems, these horizontal stems, these stems actually grow under the ground. Okay, यो स्टेम्सहरु अघिको चाहिँ सब एरियल थियो, अलिकति अंडर द ग्राउन्ड पोसेको हुन्छ दिस स्टेम. सो दे ग्रो फर अ सर्ट पिरियड अफ टाइम. दैट मीन्स अलिकति लामो डिस्टेन्स सम्म चाहिँ दे ग्रो अंडर द ग्राउन्ड, and then while reaching a certain distance it will start growing. The stem will start emerging up obliquely, यस्तो पाराले ग्रो गर्छ. Okay, so this type of reproduction or this type of growth of stem is known as vegetative propagation. So यसरी चाहिँ के गर्दैछ, यहाँनिर स्टेम हो. एक्चुअली दिस इज द सब एरियल स्टेम. पुरा भित्र पसेको हुँदैन नि त, माथि नै हुन्छ. जस्ट ग्राउन्डले जस्ट अलिकति ग्राउन्डदेखि मुनि मात्रै हुन्छ. इट इज अट्याच टु द ग्राउन्ड. सो ग्राउन्ड भित्र नै तेर्सो अलिकति ग्रो गर्छ. इट ग्रोज हराइजन्टली फर अ सर्ट डिस्टेन्स, and then after a short distance it will emerge out of the soil in a oblique or slant manner. So yahanira dekhta cha we see two different plants. So such plant is known as this type of vegetative propagation, or this type of stem is known as sucker. Yo stem like a sucker bhanincha. So yeah, from this sucker roots can grow and then new plants can develop. So this is how vegetative propagation by roots, by stems occur. I'm so sorry, by stems occur. Roots mata directly roots they become tuberous and thick, and from there new plants. When we take that root and plant it in the soil, from that root new plants will develop. That is vegetative propagation. From the stem itself also new plants develop. Those stems are subaerial stems, and subaerial stems are 4 kinds. That is runner, stolen, offset and sucker. So यस्तो पाराले 4 प्रकारको स्टेम हुन्छ. त्यो स्टेमबाट चाहिँ we obtain new plants. Okay, so that is how vegetative propagation occurs naturally through the stem. Now let us study about natural vegetative propagation that occurs by leaf. Okay, in some plants the leaves are fleshy. Okay, they bear fleshy and they have notches. Okay, notches that lie along the margin of the leaf. Okay, so certain plants like bryophyllum. Okay, there is a plant called bryophyllum. Leaf is fleshy and they bear notches along the margin of the leaf, and inside the notches buds are there, margin of the leaf. So inside these notches, notch, not notes but notches. Okay, inside these notches buds are present. So from these buds new plants can arise. Okay, new plants are arise, and these buds are adventitious buds. Adventitious buds भनेको चाहिँ normally जहाँ ग्रो गर्छ त्यो ठाउँमा ग्रो नगर्ने ठाउँ, त्यो ठाउँमा ग्रो नगरेर अर्को ठाउँमा ग्रो गर्यो भने चाहिँ that is adventitious bud. Okay, let me give you example. Buds usually grow on the stem. Okay, buds usually grow on the stem, but when buds grow in other parts of the plant, for example the roots or the leaves or the trunks of the tree, so that time those buds are called adventitious buds. Stem ma नभएर अरु जग्गा हुने bud लाई चाहिँ adventitious buds भनिन्छ. So यहाँनिर कहाँ छ, leaf मा छ, that is why it is adventitious bud. It is not on stem, so it is present on the leaf, so it is adventitious bud. So inside these notches adventitious buds are present. So when this leaf, जब यो bud bearing leaf, when they fall on the soil, then from those buds new plants arise. So such kind of propagation or such kind of reproduction in which new plants arise from the leaf is known as vegetative propagation. Okay, I hope you are clear with this. Now this is all about natural methods of vegetative propagation. We'll study about artificial method. Okay, artificially also by using the parts of a plant like roots, stems and leaves, artificially also reproduction is done. So that is artificial methods of vegetative propagation. So scientists have developed certain techniques. Okay, scientists have developed certain techniques, and through these techniques reproduction takes place, and that is known as artificial methods of vegetative propagation. So let us study some of the artificial methods that is adopted by scientists, horticulturists, agriculturists to reproduce plants. That is cutting. First is cutting. So in this method a part of the plant, maybe the root or the stem or the leaf, is detached from the parent body and then it is buried in the soil. Okay, so in this method a part of the plant such as root, stem or leaf is detached from the parent body and buried in the soil. Buried in the soil. This word is pronounced as buried. Bury भन्ने नै ल. This is bury. Okay? Bury. B-E-R-R-Y. Bury. जस्तो पाराले pronounce गरिन्छ. This is also pronounced like this. So this is buried and not buried. Okay? So what is done in this method, a part of the plant such as maybe the root is cut or the stem is cut or the leaf is cut from the parent plant and then it is buried into the soil. So when it is buried into the soil, from there, from this cutting, from the root cutting or the stem cutting or the leaf cutting, new plants arise. So this method is known as cutting. Okay, so after few weeks, after burying, after few weeks, then new plants arise. So after few weeks, new plants arise from that cutting. Plants like rose, okay, rose, sugarcane, bougainvillea, okay, etc. are grown through stem cutting. यिनीहरुको चाहिँ stem काट्छ. Okay, there is a plant called dahlia full. So dahlia it is grown through root cutting. So in this way, either root or stem or leaf is cut from the parent and then it is buried in the soil. So this type of method is artificially, we are cutting it. It is not happening naturally. So this is artificial method of vegetative propagation. So another method of artificial method of vegetative propagation is known as layering. Okay, layering. So there are four methods of artificial methods of vegetative propagation. First one is cutting, layering, grafting, and then tissue culture. Okay. Now in layering, the part of the new plants are produced from the parent part, but here that part is not detached from the parent part. Okay, so here new plants grow from parent plant without even detaching it. From the parent plant. Parent plant बाट नकाटिकिन detach नगरिकिन जब नयाँ plants जन्मिन्छ, that method is known as layering. Okay, so here what is done, there is a plant. Okay, there is a plant. Let me draw a little visible. So suppose this is a plant. Okay, it has roots, everything, and it has branches. Okay, this is your branches of the plant. Now there are certain branches that grow close to the ground. Okay, so suppose this is the ground. So you can see all the other branches are growing high up in the air, but one branch is growing close to the ground. So if there are such branches that is growing close to the ground, what is done? This branch is pulled further down. We will pull that branch down and then we will put it inside the ground or insert it inside the ground. So यो तान्योपछि अलिक तल झारेर we'll bury it inside the ground and then we'll cover it with moist soil. Okay, so moist means that contains water. We'll cover it with moist soil. Then after few weeks we can see that the part of the plant, the branch that has been buried into the or inserted into the soil, from here roots start growing. Okay, so roots start growing. So see, without even detaching it, parent plant सँगै जोडिएको छ. It is attached to the parent plant, but still roots has grown over here. So after the roots has grown, then here it is cut over here and is planted as a new plant. So in this way, what is being done? The branch that is growing close to the ground is pulled further down into the ground and is covered by moist soil. So in this way, roots develop and new plants develop from such plants. This type of layering, जहाँनिर चाहिँ ब्रान्चलाई पुल गरेर माटो भित्र हाल्छ, that type of layering is called mound layering. So this is mound layering. So layering is actually of two types. This is the first type, that is the mound layering. The second type of layering is known as air layering. So air भनेको माथि हावामै, यहाँ त जमिनमा गर्दिन्छ, भित्र हाल्दिन्छ. So airमा चाहिँ what happens? Suppose this is a plant. I am drawing a very rough diagram. Okay, please bear with me. So this is a plant. So this has branches like this. Okay. Now what is done is a branch is taken and then a part of the branch is scraped off. Okay, scraped भनेको चाहिँ के गर्छ? Suppose this is a plant. A tool is taken and then it is dragged or pulled like this. That sharp tool, suppose knife छ या त के छ, त्यसलाई चाहिँ के गरिन्छ? त्यो part of the branch मा राखेर we drag is like this. Drag the knife like this. So when we drag the knife, के हुन्छ? खोतालिएको जस्तो हुन्छ, scrape out हुन्छ. So when we scrape a certain amount of part of the branch, we do not scrape everything. काट्दैन डल्लै, just we scrape off. माथि माथिको scrape off गरिदिन्छ. त्यहाँदेखिको चाहिँ we cover this part where we have scraped up, we covered it with moist soil again. Okay, moist soil चाहिँ त्यो माथि के गरिदिन्छ? वरिपरि wrap गरिदिन्छ त्यो scrape off part लाई चाहिँ. Then a plastic bag or polythene bag is wrapped over that moist part, moist soil माथि. Why it is wrapped with polythene? So that water loss does not take place. If it is not wrapped, then in a few minutes or in an hour, all the water will be lost to the environment by evaporation. So to prevent that, it is covered with a polythene bag. Now from time to time, from certain intervals, in certain days, what do? We open that plastic and we sprinkle water to keep the soil moist. So after certain period of time, we see that in that part of the plant, roots have developed. So when it is covered with moist air, here roots start developing. So you can see this is a new part of the plant. So it is cut over here, then it is planted as new plant. So in this way, air layering is done where new plants are obtained. Okay, so mound layering, it happens naturally as in case of strawberries. As I told you, strawberry now what happens? In case of mound layering, हामी आफै artificially गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ we pull that branch down to the earth. But in case of strawberries, since the stem is subaerial, it is already touching the ground. So त्यहीँबाट आफै roots पलाउँछ. So mound layering happens naturally in strawberries. Air layering and mound layering, we do it हामी आफै के रे artificially पनि गर्नु सक्छ. Okay, so these two methods are adopted. This layering method is adopted in certain plants like strawberries, dahlia, jasmine, okay, bougainvillea. So all these plants can be reproduced using this layering method of vegetative propagation. Either mound layering or air layering can be done. Okay, now the next type of artificial vegetative propagation is grafting. Okay, this is grafting. So grafting is usually done to improve the quality of certain fruits. Okay, to improve the quality of certain fruits like mango. So fruit को quality बढाउनको लागि we use grafting, and it is usually, or it has been found to be successful only in dicots. So it has to be found successful only in dicots. Dicots, we've already studied about dicots in class 9. Dicots bear two seed leaves. Duita seed leaves huncha in their embryo. They typically they have a broad stalked leaves. Patta cha, patta ko jun cha stalk cha, this is broad. Okay, danti cha broad huncha, and the veins are net like. Okay, net like veins huncha. So this type of plants is known as dicot. Some example of dicot plants are rose, beans, peas, okay, cactus, etc. So in such dicot plant only grafting is successful. In monocot plant it is not successful. Okay, so what do we do in this method? Okay, we take we cut the stems. Okay, so cut stems of two different plants. Plants are attached together in such a way that they grow as a single plant. So what is done? Two stems are cut together and they are joined together. They are attached together. So duita kateko stem, when they are attached together, they grow as a single plant. Okay. So this method is known as grafting. Let us study a bit more about it. Okay. So as you know, as I told you, two different plants stem are cut. So out of the two plants, the plant with the root system, भनेको जसको जरासँगै काट्छ नि stem, that is the plant with the root system is known as stalk. जरा भएकोलाई चाहिँ stalk भनिन्छ, stem को part जसमा जरा हुन्छ, and the stem bearing part, अर्कोको चाहिँ stem मात्रै हुन्छ, त्यो stem bearing part is known as scion. Okay, so stem part like the scion, stalk part, root part is the scion. So let me draw the example. Let me draw and show you. So this part of the plant has root. So this is the stalk part. There is another part of the plant that has this is the stem part. So this is the scion part. So yesto duita parts kaट्छ and then they are attached together. See, and oblique cut is preferred. Okay, oblique चाहिँ काट्छ, सिधा काट्दैन, छड्के काट्छ दुईटै स्टेमलाई and then they are attached together. So while the two parts, while the scion and the stalk, when they are attached together, great care has to be taken. Okay, so great care has to be taken. These two attached parts should fit tightly together. There should be no gap between them. Okay, so when this scion and this stalk are attached together, they should be tightly fit together. There should be no gap between them. Okay, and then that is why when we take scion and stalk of different plants, then they should have equal diameter. Equal diameter को हुनुपर्छ. एउटा 1 सेन्टिमिटर छ भने त्यसको डायमिटर स्टेमको, अर्को के रे स्टकको 1 सेन्टिमिटर छ भने यसको पनि 1 सेन्टिमिटर हुनुपर्छ. अनि मात्रै त्यो टाइटली मजाले अट्याच हुन्छ. There will be no gap in between them. And the second thing that you have to note when we attach the plant is that the cambium of the stalk and the cambium of the scion should be perfectly aligned together. Cambium is the layer between xylem and phloem. Okay, so the cambium layer, it is usually present in root, in the stem, in leaves, etc. So flow in the pani ko ra food ko. Okay, through that, so cambium यसरी मजाले attach भएको छ भने, perfectly aligned भएको छ भने मात्रै that flow of food materials and nutrients will take place, and then only the plants can develop. So the cambium should be perfectly aligned. Cambium of both the stalk and the scion should be perfectly aligned together. Okay, so then after it is perfectly aligned and attached together, then this part is then covered with a cloth. So जुन चाहिँ त्यो जोडेको part छ, then it is covered with a cloth. Then in the course of time, these two parts, they get attached together and they form a single plant. दुईटा अलग-अलग plant बाट लिएको थियो, but after some time it will attach together itself and then it will form a new plant. Okay, so in this way grafting is done and new plants are developed in such method. Okay, now grafting is advantageous because in relatively short period of time we get new plants. नयाँ प्लान्ट नभए सीड रोपेर अथवा अरु मेथडले रोपेर पलाउनु, it takes a lot of time, but grafting takes relatively shorter span of time. Okay, so I'll write it down over here. It takes relatively short span of time. Usually के गरिन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ plants like lemon, okay, lime and orange, okay, all these are citrus. These are grown. These are the plants of the scion of these plants are taken. Okay, scion of lemon, lime and orange are grown upon same stalk of citrus plants. Root चाहिँ एउटै लिन्छ यिनीहरुमा, स्टेम चाहिँ लेमन को, लाइम को, ऑरेंज को, डिफरेंट लेमन को, यिनीहरुको स्टेम लिएर चाहिँ नयाँ प्लान्ट्स बनिन्छ. And this is known as grafting. Alright, now the last method of artificial method of vegetative propagation is tissue culture, or it is also known as micro propagation. Okay, tissue culture or micro propagation. So now what is done in this method? So in this method, small pieces of plant tissues are taken from the parent plant. Okay, they are taken from the growing part of the plant. Small pieces of tissue are taken, or they are isolated. Let us write down down isolated. That will sound that is more appropriate. Are isolated भनेको अलग्गै छुट्याउनु हो नि त. Okay, isolated from a growing plant. Okay, first step now. Tissue are taken from a growing plant. Then that tissue is it is added to. It means the tissue that has been isolated. The isolated tissue is added to a suitable culture medium. Suitable culture medium. Culture medium is, it can be solid, semi-solid or liquid medium. Okay, liquid अथवा semi-solid भनेको आधी solid आधी liquid अनि solid त्यस्तो खालको culture medium हुन्छ. Okay, culture medium जस्तो liquid culture medium is broth. Okay, त्यस्तै गरी solid culture medium is agar. So this type of suitable culture medium is taken, and then those tissues that has been isolated will be added to the culture medium. So when the tissues are added to the suitable culture medium, the cells in the tissue start dividing rapidly. Okay, cells in the tissue start dividing rapidly. Rapidly divide हुन्छ यिनीहरु एकदम छिटो. rapidly भनेको rapidly and form a mass. Okay, and form this and form a mass. This mass is unorganized and form an unorganized mass called callus. Okay, called callus. So first tissue nikalcha growing plant बाट, then it is added to the culture medium. When it is added to the culture medium, then the cells that are present in the tissue, they start to divide rapidly. Then they form a mass that is undivided or unorganized also. Okay, jata bhabi unorganized एउटा ठुलो mass बनिन्छ. That mass is called callus. After the callus formation takes place, then that callus is now again added to another culture medium. Okay, so the callus is transferred to another culture medium. Transferred to another culture medium. And this culture medium contains plant hormones. Okay, which contains plant hormones that induce the formation of shoots and roots. That induce the formation of shoots and roots. So callus थियो. Now callus अर्को medium मा, culture medium मा transfer गर्यो. त्यो culture medium मा चाहिँ अब growth hormone पनि add गरेको छ. So growth hormone add गरेपछि त्यो growth hormone ले चाहिँ they induce भनेको they will now promote the formation of roots अनि shoots. Shoots भनेको stem. So which are the hormones that are added in the culture medium? Usually it is auxin and cytokinin. Okay, auxin and cytokinin is added into the culture medium. This plant hormone will induce the callus बाट चाहिँ now अघि त्यो unorganized mass थियो. Now after the addition of this plant hormones, they will form roots and they will also form shoots. Okay, so roots र shoots form bhayeपछि चाहिँ that now plantlet has developed. Now that plantlet will be put into the soil. Okay, soil ma ropeपछि then from there new plants will develop. So in this way tissue culture is done and new plants are obtained. So tissue culture can be defined as the tissue culture is the production of new plants. Okay, it is the production of new plants by isolating isolating cells and tissues of the from desirable stock, that is the parent plant, desirable stock, and then it is cultured in suitable media. Then it is cultured means it is allowed to grow, and then it is allowed to grow in suitable culture media. Singular is medium, plural is media. Okay, so in this way, when artificial vegetative propagation is done using tissues, this is known as tissue culture. So, which plants are cultivated through tissue culture are dahlia, orchids, chrysanthemum. Okay, all these plants are, so dahlia, orchids of chrysanthemum is godavari bhन्छ हामी नेपालीमा. So chrysanthemum, we also there is a flowering plant that is known as asparagus. This is also used as vegetable, so that asparagus is also grown through this tissue culture. Okay, now let us study about the advantages of vegetative propagation. Okay, why is vegetative propagation preferred? What are the advantages of vegetative propagation? So, through vegetative propagation, the desirable characters or the traits of a plant can be preserved through generation. So, through vegetative propagation, the desirable characters, okay, desirable आफूलाई मन पर्ने जुन चाहिँ characters छ, okay, desirable characters or traits of a plant can be preserved through generations. Okay, sorry, preserved through generations. Okay, now the second advantage is like we get seedless plants. Okay, seedless भनेको seed नभएको seedless plants like banana, okay, grapes, sugarcane, guava, jasmine, etc. can be obtained. Can be produced. Okay, so in this way seedless plants can be produced. And thirdly is through cutting and grafting. Grafting flowers and fruits can be developed in relatively shorter span of time. Chito development can be developed in relatively shorter Next advantage is that the plants which do not produce viable seeds. Okay, viable seeds. Viable seeds means seeds that are capable of seeds that are capable of germination. But sometimes some plants, they produce seeds which are incapable of germination. That means they cannot germinate and they cannot form into new plants, or they cannot grow into new plants. So such plants can be cultivated through vegetative propagation. So the plants which do not produce viable seeds or less seeds, कम्ती seeds पलाउँछ त्यस्तो खालके प्लान्ट्सहरुलाई चाहिँ can be reproduced using this method. Reproduced using this method. Okay. Now next is that okay, for example, let me give you example of plants that have less seed or they do not produce viable seeds. Potato, okay, potato, banana, grapes, etc. So these can be cultivated through vegetative propagation. And sixth is the plants or the daughter plants which are produced through vegetative propagation, they are exactly similar or they are genetically similar to the parents. Okay, so plants raised through vegetative propagation are genetically identical. Why they are genetically identical? Because they are raised from a single parent. एउटै पेरेन्टबाट निकालेको हुन्छ नि त, दुईटाको भेरिएसन आउँछ. Okay, because they are raised from a single parent. So these are the advantages of vegetative propagation. Now everything has advantages as well as disadvantages. Now let us talk about the disadvantages or limitations of vegetative propagation. Okay. Limitations of vegetative propagation. So first is the plants produced by this technique they have less vigor. Okay, plants produced by this technique have less vigor, means they are less active than other plants. They are more prone to disease. भनेको छिट्टो बिमार लाग्न सक्छ. They are more prone to diseases. And thirdly, since they are genetically identical, so they show no variations. Okay, so they show no genetic variations. Okay, genetic variations say there is no genetic variations. So with this we've come to the end of asexual reproduction.